A creature of shine sails throughout the universe at the speed of light. No purpose, only to explore the vastness and collect information as if a secretary for life. A strange being looks on as the creature is engulfed into the darkness of space. Confused, the being looks on, when suddenly darkness itself opens up to reveal space in between space. A man appears glaring. You hear a paradox, or anomaly, incorrect as he says to the being, and his eyes become brighter than anything that could be mentioned. The light so bright acts as a sun in space, actually bouncing off of its own rays to create a box of light that traveled through space, incinerating small debris and even heating planets it breezed by. The light caused the being to faint. As the man looks onto the vast universe, he says to himself, the sands have been disturbed and balance has been set unwillingly. At that moment another light shines and he disappears. On planet Earth, the boy plays with his father in a field of cactus, running and jumping over the plants as if they were people. The father yelling, "Good son, balance yourself and evade danger at all costs." The boy looks fierce and moves fast. "Okay," the father says, "Littlefoot, your mother awaits us back at the village. She's expecting a lot of fish." Littlefoot laughs. "Well, we didn't catch any fish. Better make it quick." As they both laugh and head towards the river. Bear, the father, tells Littlefoot to go east upriver and he will head west to catch a fish. "Maybe we can corner them." They head their ways and begin looking into the water for fish. Littlefoot, whose birthday is tomorrow, says to himself, "Wow, 15. I'm going to have to find a wife soon and create a family." Or that's what Mum says. As he slaps the water, he sees a huge fish under the ripple. The fish then scurries off, causing Littlefoot to chase it. As he is splashing and running, he notices a bright light shining off the water. He looks up to see something falling from the sky, crashing hard into the ground, causing it to shake tremendously. The sudden impact caused the ground to quake even more, splitting right down the middle of the small creek. A hole opens up, swallowing Littlefoot. Littlefoot, the dad, screams as boulders from the cliffs above start raining down on top of him. Barley making it out the way. As everything settles, he quickly jumps to his feet to find his son, yelling name and searching. Deep below the water, Littlefoot is grabbed by a man and pulled to the surface. Not able to see clearly after swallowing water and banging his head, Littlefoot passes out. A distant voice calling out Littlefoot as he fades away. When Littlefoot wakes up, he is at his bed at home with his mother crying over him. "My son, are you okay? What happened?" "IDK," he says. "Where is your father?" she asks. Confused, Littlefoot says, "I don't remember anything." As voices of the villagers are heard in the woods yelling bear and giving their tribe call. A elder enters into the tent. He stares deeply at Littlefoot and turns around to leave. The mother then starts crying, causing Littlefoot to ask what's going on. Before she can gather herself to answer, two warriors come inside and drag Littlefoot out by his arms. Littlefoot looks around to see the villager have gathered along with the witch doctors. The drums begin to play as Littlefoot can recognize it is the song of the sacrifice. He is then brought to the front of the crowd, who yell and curse him. As the drums become more intense, the witch doctors come to him along with the elders. "This boy has been possessed, and we must pay the tribute so our villagers purify," the witch doctor says. To be answers by the eldest. "We must first conduct our research. I believe we are mistaken." A random villager says, "Of course, that is your nephew. You should not been able to judge this phoenix." As he nods his head, he answers, "This I understand, which is why it will be judged by my son Hawk." A younger man steps out. Young Hawk, who is the son of King Phoenix, was in constant dispute with Bear over who is to be future chief, walks to the front with a smirk on his face, looking at Littlefoot. "Yes, I will be the judge, and as we all know, there is no more fair than me." The witch doctor begins to speak. "Let USB bring the one who found him." A young planter boy comes to front. The doctor asks, "When you found the boy, describe what you saw." The young MSN proceeds. "He was covered in blood and glowing in a green light from his eyes. It was almost as if he was alive but dead at the same time." The witch doctor claps his hands. BF says no further questions. Young Hawk walks up to Littlefoot and grabs him by the face to examine. "Where did the blood go?" he asks. The young man says, "When we went to retrieve him, he exerted an energy that nearly killed me and actually decapitated a goat." He blew clear off the ground into the side of the river, getting rinsed off and covered in mud, as you can see. The crowd looks on and begin gossip among themselves. The doctor steps up and says, "The day is ours. The night belongs to Damika. We have but yet 2 ticks of the sun before we must go back. Hawk, please make your decision." Hawk looks at Littlefoot and whispers in his ear. "Thank you." Littlefoot looks at Hawk as he turns around and signals to light the fire. Littlefoot is then stretched and tied over crossed sticks. Being cut and stabbed by thorns, he is carried over to the fire. Lifting him up to be burned were 2 young warriors and a child called the Innocent, who is thought to be a oracle. Smiles and skips in front of them. Just as one side is latched above the fire, a voice yells out "No," causing the warriors to get startled and look. One trips over a rock, dropping Littlefoot into the fire. Bear, bruised and bloodied, comes running from the wood. Save him. Terrible screams are heard while the smell of burning flesh cover the area. Bear, rushing over to pull him from the fire, is stopped by the witch doctor, who says, "It is you. You oppose." Before he can fishing, Bear pushes him out of the way and pulls Littlefoot from the fire. Burned across his face and chest while his mother cries, Bear holds him, cursing at the village. To the knowledge of the village, the boy lay dead. Bear, who had felt him breathing, let the others believe. "We will bury our son, and when we come back you can deal with me however you like." "Where will you bury the child?" the doctor asks. Bear turns his back to the village toward his son and says, "Away from here." Time passes and Bear returns with a weeping wife. Hawk approaches while eating an apple. "Sorry about your kid," as Bear looks past him and continues to walk. Hawk throws his apple and says with confidence, "Well, Bear, it's time to be judged, and this one will be held by Stonehead." Haha, he laughs as he walks off. Stonehead, who is the elder whom sat under Chief Phoenix. Like Hawk, he built resentment toward not being the alpha amongst the warriors. The village gathered once again, this time eager to understand what is happening, as it is near nightfall and the sacrifice is yet to be made. A woman yells out, "Just tie him or we will all be destroyed." Stonehead then says to the crowd, "I along with the other elders have discussed that we indeed need a sacrifice. But the rightful one must be appointed, the just do. We cannot expect to avoid our fate, especially for a mistake. So in light of the opportunity, we will sacrifice 2 children and beg for forgiveness." The crowd erupts as a woman screams out, "But why? Who? Him there. Take his son from the grave and send him away. He was possessed." The crowd begin to get angry and louder when the chief steps up. "Calm. We ourselves do not wish to hurt the children. But as spoken by the elders before us, the children are the only way to correct our faults. We can blame nobody but me. Therefore I shall sacrifice myself as chief to the Fire Lord." The crowd then gasps as Bear looks at Phenol, knowing what this means. As the chief says, "Tie me up," we have Minuix to spare his wife and children, along with his devoted followers, cry out and thank him for his sacrifice. Before being tied up, he looks at Hawk and gives him his crown built with feathers of a phoenix. Hawk smiles as Phoenix is tied up and the flames reignited. He looks at Bear and says, "Lead the right path that has been set for you, my son." He is then hoisted up and set over the fire. Back at his tent, Bear says to his wife. He didn't even scream, he just closed his eyes and passed on as if he left his body before the pain could strike him.